Welcome everyone to today's interview session. We are thrilled to have uh, you guys join with us as we'll delve into the important topics of social work, human rights, and education. Our guest today is a distinguished professional in the field, and we are excited to hear the insights and experience. As guest of honor, we have Mr. Asrani Gopaul, who is the head of social studies, and we also have Mr. Manishwar Purmanund. Before we begin with our questions, we have a special message from the Managing Director of United for Human Rights, Mr. Manishwar Purmanund. Please go ahead, sir. You're on mute.
Thank you, Nidhi. Thank you, Mr. Asrani, for the invitation. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our first online interview for the year of 2025. And I would like to be thankful to everyone, especially to Mr. Asrani, because today, where the stems that we have been taken, it is connected with the days that we are celebrating today. So I would like to wish everyone a happy International Educational Day, which is also one article in our Universal Declaration of Human Rights. When we're talking about education, it's something that it is connected to everyone anywhere. A person can start to learn when he or she is in the womb of her mother, but we can't stop learning. There's two type of learnings that we have, and we are going to learn it with more with Mr. Asrani, because he is one among the persons that I myself am learning with him. He is my trainer, my facilitator, my lecturer for the BSc and youth work. I think it's the same thing for Nidhi, but for her, it's a bit on social work. Mr. Asani is someone that you're going to learn more. I'm not going to say uh, what I'm not going to take his speech, because he have lots of question and answer that is going to make everyone know where we want to go and why we want to do this interview. So I would let you to continue, Nidhi, and best of luck to everyone. If you have any question, don't hesitate to ask Mr. Asani, and even myself. We will try to reply to you, or we are going to answer you later on. Thank you.
We're all born free and equal.
Don't discriminate.
These are your human rights. There are 30 of them. They belong to you. You don't have to buy them, or apply for them, or ask permission to have them. They're just yours. No matter who you are, where you're from, how old you are, or anything else. It's just that simple. Now, some people may try to ignore your rights, or violate them, or pretend they don't exist. But they can't change the fact that they are yours. Human right number 30. No one can take away your human rights. What are human rights? Find out at youthforhumanrights.org.
Thank you, Mr. Purmanund, for your words. As Mr. Purmanund has said, we are honored to have with us today our guest of honor, Mr. Asrani Gopaul, who is the head of Department of Social Studies at the Faculty of Social Sciences and Humanities at the University of Mauritius. So, Mr. Gopaul, thank you for joining us.
Yes, all the pleasure is mine.
Thank you. So, we can start with some general questions. Let's start with, can you tell us about your background and what inspired you to pursue a career in social work and human rights?
Okay. I get into social work a bit by mistake, as I was telling you. I told you in class. It happened that I went to university with some social background. And then I saw this course being offered. I went with a friend who wanted to join an economics. We both wanted to join an economics course. And then we saw this new course being offered, one in sociology and one in social studies and one in social work. And he chose sociology and I chose social work. And until now, we are both still at university. I can tell you, we are both still at university. And to tell you frankly, it's our pleasure. So to start with, while doing my course, was at this time it was a 4-year course. Now it's 3 years, 4-year course, and everyone was the same class, sociology and social work. It was called BS Social Studies. So it was one stream was social work, another stream, and we all had to do the social work and sociology module in year one. All the psychology module. It was very tough. At this time, it was around 150 credit. Now it's only 100 if you multiply it by 2 LCCS. It's 200. But at this time, if you multiply it by 2, what was being offered at this time was 300 credit. Very, very tough to complete. And we had some very good lecturers, authorities, we can say, in the field. My first lecturer of sociology was Professor Vidula Nawab Singh, well known in Mauritius, Nalini Byrne, well known. Social policy, Professor Jagannath Singh, social work, Mrs. Raghubar. And to tell you, before us, there was a batch of certificate and diploma at the University of Mauritius. And from this certificate batch, the first batch I remember, one day we met with the ex-president of the Republic, Kasamutin, who was a student of social work. And then they got, at this time, they got scholarship to go to France to pursue the studies. And this started with a certificate in social work. And we were the first batch BSc in social work to actually join university. And arriving at year one, year two, we were very proud when we learned the module that we were learning, sociology, psychology. It was the first time they were being taught to us in such an intensive manner. And it was fun being at university. University life, it tend to be so fun. And year one, year two, year one, we went to the practical to meet the world of work, which was at probation and prison, the study visit, the prison services, all these services. And arriving at year three, we completed the 2 years, the third year, we were going to the 4th year, and then my then program coordinator of social work, Mrs. Raghubar, Satin Raghubar, called me and tell me, I want you to go and work at Saint Idris Gouani. You will follow a training. They are looking for someone to do a training there. So I say, okay, I'll go for it. They called it a placement, but they were trying to train me in view of getting employed there. So it was my first taste of real field social work. There was a project team with children. I like working with children. So the other one, which as a priority, we have to fight for their rights. Okay, so it was in 1996. And then it was around 4 to 5 months. I was going there every week. Every week I was going there 3-4 times, training, learning how to talk, getting used to it. It was in plain there. At this time, I didn't have a car. I was getting only an allowance to travel the day I was joining there. So after this, a few months after, I had an interview as a youth officer, which was mainly a social work job at this time, a social work requirement job at this time. So I did the interview and they told me I had a hedge because I was working with drug addicts. And they had a project coming at called Adolescent Social Integration Program at Youth. They saw that I would be very suited. So I went there and spent 7 years. In between, I stopped for 1 year and joined Marcus as an assistant secretary of the Marcos. At this time, the Marcos was head by a secretary, so I was the assistant secretary for a few months, and then I did go back to youth. Youth attracted me more, and I always say youth work is my first love, and it will always be my first love. Youth work, so nice. You tend to practice social work so much at youth. That was great. And then after youth, I went to work with the street children program for 1 year, and then I joined street children program offered by Social Security. Was a new program initiated both by the then minister, saying that if you work with these children who are on the street, you will be able to catch up with them, they prevent them from becoming drug addict in the long run. So I was there. We were training by Réunion Island. This is where I learned to put into practice the Carl Rogers method, the French method of intervention, practical intervention, direct practice. It was very different from youth. Youth, it was, yes, direct practice for some program. Youth work that so many different units, adolescent social integration program, youth empowerment program, Duke of Edinburgh program, the Fonds Insertion Jeune, what you call an entrepreneurship program for youth. So many programs, so many opportunities for training. Youth is really the best place for a social worker to train. You actually get both. I don't know, I don't know what it has turned into nowadays. I can't say, but I've been called upon to give a few courses. I can tell you, the work has not changed. Maybe the profile of the youth has changed, and you have to adapt to it, the new world. And to tell you, if you ask me to go back to youth work today, I'll go back again. This is why I'm servicing the youth work module at university for directly into the province. And then after ICAC, I think it was in 1990, 1998, 2000. Yeah, the year 2000, I joined Marcos. 2000 between 2002, 2003, I joined ICAC. In between, I did my master in social development, which was referred by some lecturers, a joint program between University of Manchester and University of Mauritius at this time, which was an MSc in social, following the Kaya issue in Mauritius, what you call the disturbance caused by the death of singer Kaya in prison. And this course was offered, and we were very lucky. It was the first time it was offered, and majority of the lecturers came from University of Manchester. And it was very nice at this time to do this. It was an extension to what we learned. For example, we learned what is social exclusion, how to work with people with social exclusion, but in social development, we learned how to design, devise, for example, intervene policies of social integration. It was so nice. So in 2002, I joined ICAC, and until 2004, ICAC, it was also social work, the anti-corruption education program. After 2 years, I joined the Ministry of Culture. In between, in 2000, I was called upon to teach part-time at the university to social studies students, doing a sociology module across university, what was called Understanding Society, as an elective to all the students who wanted to take an elective. There were a few electives which I taught, family policy, what you call sociology of the family, introduction to sociology, and it was so nice. Child welfare services.
Yes.
So I did this part-time job, and until while still working at the Ministry of Culture until 2000 was it? Yes, 2010. I saw an advertisement for recruitment of lecturer in social work, and I applied to university. In between, I also did a master in research. In different type of research. So this was both my educational background and my work background in university, and then university until now, it's at least 14 years since I've been at university. And now on my 15 years, in August will be 15 years that I'm at university. In between, in 2017, I became a senior lecturer, and then last 2 years, I've been the head of Department of Social Sciences. I've been working in some consultancies with local NGOs, with international organizations such as the Commonwealth and SASPEN. I am also a member of the Southern African Social Protection Expert Network. It's a network of experts in the field of social protection, which is my field nowadays, social protection. And I'm specializing myself in social resilience, how to tackle different issues of the shock, social shock that happens in society. For example, should social protection still be free and universal? Or should we, based on human right concept, should we start making people pay? What will happen to women when you start making people pay for social services, for social protection? All these issues, it's tackled every year by the Southern African Social Protection Expert Network conferences. So I also attend conferences on women issues in connection with social protection, different conferences. I publish a few papers, do some research, local research for NGOs, which is what our work consists of beside teaching at university.
Mhm.
So this is a bit my experience of social work at University of Mauritius. Okay, does this suit your question? And human
Well,
rights, as
thank
you
you for
know,
sharing.
is just to tell you, human rights, as you know, is an integral part of social work. You can't demarcate why social work exists, because
Indeed.
we need to protect human rights. We need to preserve human rights. We need to fight for human rights. Right of those who have the voice, empower those, which is where empowerment mean giving voice and choice to people, and empower them to know their voice, to use their voice, and to know what their rights are. So you can't demarcate social work from human rights concept.
Mhm.
Okay. Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Gopaul, for sharing. I see you had quite an interesting journey before coming to where you are right now. So, since today we are celebrating the International Education Day, for
Yes.
you, what does International Day mean, and why do you think it is important to celebrate?
Okay. You know, we are very lucky in Mauritius. Not everyone can get access to some type of education. Whether you are a high achiever or a low achiever, you can get access to education. For me, the International Education Day is really an opportunity to offer a platform to all those who in the past did not have the opportunity to get access to education, and to celebrate those who could get access, to make them remember that they have been very lucky. Compare chronologically, chronological comparison to those in the past time who could not have access to education, especially women or particular group. So many groups in society, because of their race, because of their ethnic identity, because of their background, because of their political background, could not get all their gender, could not get access to education, and this still exists. Bullying is bullying, but when bullying is done by one group which is rich over one group which is poor, one group who has a particular color over one group who has another color, one group was a particular belief over another group was some other belief, then there is a need to encourage
Mhm.
people to know their right to education, to encourage this education for all, but also to thank all those who work day and night relentlessly to offer some kind of education to everyone in society, sometimes at the risk of their own life. Do remember all those people offering education in these places of war zone, conflict zone. And they are doing it without money at time, without receiving anything in return. But they have to pay it at time with their life, with their safety. So for me, this is the real education day, the real purpose of International Education Day. You will remember, Nidhi, your name is Nidhi Doorgeshwaree. When we were
Yes.
doing international social work, preparing social workers to work cross-border, one of the
Yes.
main objective was distributing education, how to distribute education to everyone, to secure the human right of everyone, and especially children were the poor victim of war zone and education. If you look at the definition of pedagogy, usually, I don't know the complex definition, but the simple definition, when you go to Paulo Freire's book, what the name of the book? Pedagogy of the Oppressed by Paulo Freire, which is one of the nicest books you can read, Pedagogy of the Oppressed, and which I always encourage my students to read. There's always a group who don't know if they are oppressed, and a group who know and they cannot do anything about it. And this point where I learned in this book is that pedagogy means the term means more encadrement d'un enfant than anything else. The Greek definition, which I retain. There may be some more complex definition, I don't know. But for me, this is very important. There cannot be any education without pedagogy, and there cannot be any pedagogy without including, or what you call total inclusiveness of all children. Do you get my point?
Yes.
This is my definition of international human, what I believe as a social worker. Okay?
Now, Krista, make sure you stay with her the whole time. She's new to the country. This is her first
Mom,
day. This is a
Mom,
brand
Mom,
new country.
Mom,
It's a whole different
it's gonna be
culture.
okay.
Now, make sure you stay with her the whole time. I'll be here right
Okay.
after school to pick you up.
Okay, Mom.
Okay, have fun. Bye-bye.
Bye. Ignore my mom. She's so annoying. She's totally freaking out about this whole thing. She freaks out about everything. She always does that. Ugh. Ignore my mom. So, ready for your first day in the wicked castle of doom? I mean, like, seriously, it's so boring. I don't know how they could put us through this, like, every single day. How many schools do you have in your village? None.
Okay, Cynthia. Yes, as I was saying, the intersection of education and human rights. How will you
How I
say
see
that they?
education in promoting human rights. Am I right?
Mhm.
Okay. The role, as I've told you, what is the role of education? First of all, to make people aware, to enlighten them. First, on their right, the right to education is an international right that should be insurmountable. That should be something that can be accessed by everyone, that can be given to someone as a birthright. Unfortunately, this is not the case in many countries because of many issues like poverty, like war, like crime against humanity, like bias, gender bias, for example, where people don't believe, like believe because of sexual belief in different uh, sexual orientation, which can put people out of education rather than including them. So the role of education is here to promote the right of this particular group, what you call marginal group, first of all, because people who can, when you live in Mauritius, the barriers are very secondary for you to permit you to go to school because the law exists. There is a law, which means that as soon as you are born, arriving at a particular age, as of right, you should enroll yourself in a particular type of education. Even in extreme cases, if the person doesn't have the same abilities, here I'm thinking about handicapped person, people with different type of abilities, who for some reason need different positive discrimination to get access to education. Here it exists in Mauritius. For example, you have the training and employment of disabled person board in Mauritius, who have the social security integration. You have laws. They are protected by police, by human rights. You have institutions, which means that you have the legal framework, both the legal framework and both the institutional framework, and moreover the enforcement agency to put it into practice. Imagine yourself whether all the countries in Africa, I'm not talking about the world. If I go to Asia, South America, Latin America, we'll have so many examples. Even in more developed countries, not everyone can get access to education for some reason or the other. One day I was talking about Europe with someone, and they told me, there's a group in Europe called the Rome. They live like nomad. They don't have a country of anchor, because they just move around from countries to countries, and they don't get access to education because their community, their adults themselves, don't believe in education, in the formal education. So how do you work with this group? But in Mauritius, you have laws that protect you. Until X age, you should be in education. After X age, you should be in X type of education, and it is free from pre-primary to tertiary. I'm not going to discuss whether there is a private cost in education. You know it. You have been through the system of tuition, which is against human rights. And
Yes.
I think no one has ever come forward and try. In the past, someone tried to put the enhancement program in the school, but it was destroyed by the teachers and others and health. I don't know for which reason it did not move forward. This was a good initiative, not to go against tuition. I'm not saying to go against tuition, but to encourage the student parent to believe that there's some other form of education or the form of space that their children need. Okay?
Yes.
It is the human right of the children to get access not only to tuition, to formal education, but to other type of education. See what's happening in Mauritius. You see it on media. What's happening to our youth? We are only seeing the symptom. We are not tackling the root cause. For example, the fall in spirituality. How many parents are doing a spiritual journey every day with their children? Very few. They believe in intuition, achievement. That's all. So for me, to protecting the right, we should start by the children at a very low age. Protect their right to a safer environment, their right to a safer type of education, their right to a more inclusive type of education that will make them grow into healthier adults in the future. Not the education that you take to tuition, you just look for result, what they are doing beside what they are doing in class, in education. And let me tell you, Mauritius, you want to protect right of children, yes, but the parents themselves don't believe. They make as if the school has become the guardian of their children, the kindergarten of the children at every level. Okay, so for me, education should be here to promote right of every group, marginalized, non-marginalized, children. Don't believe that children from rich family don't suffer from this. They're the silent sufferers of these issues. Okay, this is for me promoting education for human rights, the right, the one that will make our society have a better future. Because this right, I'm not talking about the right. If I only talk about democratic right, that should be too simple. Because right should be something that makes you become a full individual, a whole individual in the future. Okay? If I give you only education that will make you pass your exam, then you may end up being a robot. Then better you follow AI and you stay at home. Get my point? No need to go to school. You have everything on internet nowadays. But if you want a real education and you want to train, you need to train your teachers to promote this type of education also in the form of what you call hidden and formal curriculum. Okay?
Indeed. Yes. So, what are some of the biggest challenges in integrating human rights education into social work curricula?
Challenges. The first challenge I met was once in the class when talking about first group that was becoming very common in Russians, or the LGBTQ, etc. group. And one student said it was against his religion. So I have every time to make sure and show you remember and show all the students, when I'm talking about right, you are social workers, you should believe in right. And religion is on one side. It's about cultural religious belief. Secondly, when the parents themselves are drivers of bias, and then you want to teach girls, daughters about their right, and then you tell me, you're telling me this, but my parents believe in this. What should I tell my children in the future? And making them say, you need to empower your girl, for example, about menstruation, all the bias surrounding menstruation. And when you have to talk to them about this, at times it becomes not difficult, but let me tell you, there has been a big change between social work, young people learning social work nowadays, and they believe 10 years, 20 years ago when I started teaching at university. There has been some big changes, and in my class itself, it has become very different. People are more open nowadays. You get access to more. You're more modern. Your parents are themselves very young, and these barriers are being eliminated. And the next barriers, I leave it very often. They are from people coming from students coming from Africa, even from Greek at times. They don't get access to the same level materialistic life as some Mauritian students have. You are living in the comfort of your home. Right? They are living inequality every day. And then you're teaching them right to go and distribute right. And it's very antagonist to what they are living and what you are asking them to teach. So at times you feel it in class, this becomes some kind of barriers. At times you don't want to say, but you have to do it as per the syllabus. As social workers, we have some kind of human feeling, which becomes a barrier. And at times you have a limit which you have to talk in class. You can't go in every detail because we live in a very multicultural society. So you have to restrain yourself from going in depth in some issues because religiously these issues cannot be taught and talk about. You cannot have a very extensive speech on these issues. But eventually nowadays I can see it. People are more open, they support me. You remember in our class, they support what I was saying. Even in classes where there were boys, they were supporting the issues against boys. They were not afraid to support it. And the boys also, they did believe in it now, in the change that's arriving in the world. And the force, and what's helping, the force age of technology. The gap between the parent, as if he's helping between the parent and the children, in some way or the other, he's helping the children to become more modern, believe in more, because what you believe, the social worker is an agent of change. You cannot be an agent of change if you yourself, you don't believe in change. Okay?
Yes.
Is it okay? You take the next question?
Yes.
Joe. Steven. Eric. Right here. I'll take him right there. All right, take you. Thank you. Right here.
You are still thinking
you
about what I was saying.
share any success? Yes, you share things in such depth that it prompts some thinking. Anyway, can you share us any successful example you have of human rights education initiatives that you have been involved in?
Yes. Once I was working with a group of girls in a particular region in Mauritius who were together living in one of the suburb region. I won't say ghetto because we can't talk about ghetto in Mauritius, but one of the very hot,
Yes.
tough region of Mauritius. And they were working against drug addiction. They were not eager to participate, but this existed. It was when I was working at the Ministry of Youth. And then
Mhm.
and then it was very tough because it was as if I was acting as if I was a barrier between them and the environment there, which was very dreadful, very tough. And I had to continue to empower them to believe that what they are seeing is not something that is real. It's not something that you should follow. You should construct your own identity. It's not a good identity. It was very, very tough. And then you know how it is at youth. You're working for 1 year, 2 years there, and then at one go you are asked to move to another center, and these children are left on their own. These girls are left on their own. It was very difficult for them. So the success it's a pity. The success of a program when you are working, for example, at a youth center, the success usually depend on the length of time you are going. As a program of intervention, you have to start somewhere and close somewhere. But at times it goes it's a very long process. And when it is a very long process, it's very difficult as if to end it. They always there's some transference that they do on you. You have to support them. They're always asking for you. You want to integrate them in sport. You have to go and fight for a place for them against all these. I would say attitude. People believe that selling drug is better. Yeah, you get your work, you bring money to the house, and the right of this girl was being threatened every day. They wanted education. They wanted to participate in sport. They wanted to have educational program. They wanted to have anti-substance abuse program, which was very difficult to implement. It was at Tref Youth Center. It was very, very difficult to implement. But eventually, as in any welfare program, the least you achieve, the least you successfully do, brings you a lot of. You won't get money for this, but it brings you a lot of welfare, a lot of enjoyment. Okay. Next.
Thank you for sharing.